episode. We are live from the United Kingdom, and we are on episode 50 of the Empowered Life program. And today we are actually talking about life's meaning. And this stemmed from what we discussed last week. And we were left with so many questions, which maybe today we hope we'll be able to go into for those who will be joining us, and also those who've got some stories to share in between. This is why we are here. We are here to hear stories, our stories and your stories. Those make the voices all over the world, which are going to bring people to understand how life can throw curveballs at us. And we come out, and we want to know how you manage to come out. Whether you believe in what we believe in, who is Jesus Christ, or you believe in somebody else, which is most possibly where we are talking from in the point of meaning. What does it mean, life's meaning, and who is in your life? And we had so many of those questions last week that we took onto the word. When I was looking at what that was all about, I looked at Romans 7:22-23, and I'm just going to read from the Amplified Bible. And it says, "For I joyfully delight in the law of God in my inner self, my new nature, but I see a different law and rule of action in the members of my body," which possibly means my head, my thoughts, my hands, my legs, my eyes, my ears. It basically means everything which we are hearing or which we are doing. So it says, rule of action in the members of my body, in its appetites and desires, waging war against me, and the law of my mind, and subduing me and making me a prisoner of the law of sin, which is within my members. So this sounds like a mind that has been held captive by whatever is going in the members of the body of a person. So that's where we are talking about the inner posture. The inner posture, I think a couple of weeks ago, we went on to the heart and we spoke about the heart. And unfortunately, it looks like, or fortunately, we keep coming back to the heart, because we did say it was the center of all life. So last week's questions were, asking who is the guard of your heart, who's guarding your heart, or who do you have in your heart? And when life is playing out, what's the heart position you are in, or what are you putting together, which is actually making either your heart good or grow wounds, scars. We spoke about scars a few weeks ago. So today we are tackling sort of all those questions. And maybe, if I remember what Charles said last week, it was about if we have a scenario of two people going through same challenges, and let's say they are believers, they are praying for breakthroughs, and one doesn't get a good outcome and one gets a good outcome. Where is God in all this? And we were actually, I remember Nigel spoke about God is always there. Even when you are actually falling down, His grace is there. That's like the springboard, which is holding you so that you don't fall hard. So what happens if you don't believe and you don't have anything? And I think I did speak about a couple of things a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about my book. When I went through infertility, I didn't believe then. And I could actually reflect on what I call the dysfunctional behaviors I was having, because my mind had been held captive, or my heart was bleeding for a loss of a function, a loss of motherhood. So those things, maybe we don't look at them and say, you behave this, because stories are going to be different and people are going to behave differently. But I wanted to just bring you to what a writer, somebody who survived the Holocaust. He was in a concentration camp, and he then lost everything and everybody, which more brings us more like the story of Job. And his name was Viktor Frankl, and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And one of the statements he did write was, everything can be taken away from you, but one thing that lasts of that is human freedoms. So the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. And I remember a couple of years ago when I was reading his book, when he was talking about, every time I said, God is in here, God is in here. And this was, I don't even want to imagine what was happening in the concentration camps, but I'm sure we have heard so many horror stories. We have seen so many. I think my first concentration camp movie I saw was Escape from Sobibor, and I remember I cried throughout. So if I cried watching the action which was taken out of the stories of the people who were in there, what was going on. And that book, when I was reading it, and he was talking about people would maybe just stand and drop dead. And I'm thinking, how would that be playing up on your mind? But he actually said, faith is what actually made me get up every day, because I knew I was holding on to something. So today, when we are talking about who is guarding your heart, what is the heart, or who is in your inner man, who is that? How do you identify yourself to go out there, to give you that push to be able to do something? I think we need to go back and look at what our heart does for you. When last time I did speak about the heart, I spoke about it gives us the willpower. So when you look at what Victor was talking about, is you've got the willpower within you to make a decision on how to behave. But at times that's very, very difficult, I would say, when you are going through challenges. For me, I've maybe gone through challenges which are not going to be maybe as concentration camp challenges, but I've gone through challenges which I could say, just let me die. I think Job might have thought that, but he wouldn't have said, he said, I'm not going to sin whilst I'm going through there. And so today we want to bring out what people think when you're going through all these challenges of life. Mm-hmm. What makes you say, I will go on? Or who is in you? Who is in your heart? Who you're going to depend on? If I take things on a cultural point of view, I think in the olden days, we used to all gather, we gathered through and we listen to what the ancestral spirit is going to say to the people, to the clan. How are you going to do this year, or this is not going right, whether they were seeing or not. I had an experience to be, as a child, one who was able to get into such a grouping where the first thing when the ancestral spirit came was, I brought greetings from Musikavanu. Musikavanu is like the creator. And I always ask myself, so how would the ancestral spirit be talking about Musikavanu or the creator? how would we be talking about that? And then we say, there's no creation, or there's no one who created me, or there's so much out there which now is sort of bled what we thought is supposed to be or not. But then I went back and thought, let me look at this and say, what does that mean if we look at us as believers now? So if we're going to be like Victor, depending on our faith to push us through whatever we are going through, or to hold us together whilst we're going through challenges or calamities, what would you say? So I thought, let me look for meaning and say, what is meaning? Because that's what we need to look at. What is meaning? Because usually we say, what is the meaning of a word? Or what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? But what is that meaning which we look at? And I saw that meaning goes in so many philosophy, psychology. It all depends on where you want to apply it. Linguistics, and I even found some study called semiotics, which I didn't even know, a study of science. So, so I was saying, what is meaning? And then I came across logos, and I think most of us do know about logos in the believer's world, but it's a Greek word which actually sort of was even used in philosophy as logos, and logos is said as word in Greek, or reason, or plan. Then I thought, oh, there comes our answer. We are looking at logos, word. What is word? And if we look at word, the word, for me, I would say the word comes out. As an author, I prefer the voice, because the word is the voice. The word is the action of you. So you are going to have thoughts. You create your thoughts in your mind, and it comes out to action. It becomes a word, and it becomes a voice. And the voice can be heard in so many different ways. And there, where we were talking about the word as believers, we go to John 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. There, John was talking about Jesus Christ. So that's the word first for believers. We would say we hold on to that word, and that word brought light. That word brought reason, or that word brought plans. So if you look at that and say, okay, the word is Jesus Christ, and the reason of that word was that we would go back to God. So the purpose was so that God's plan was that we should glorify God. So overall, everything, what we are here for is so that we glorify God. But how do we do that? Maybe that's the question I would leave out to anybody who wants to come in and see and tell us what you think about that. Thank you.